So just for the sake of my wife and how my wife is with tea, I'm gonna say I'll have Steve Buscemi's eyes, his crazy eyes, dude.
Look in different directions and everything.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome. My name is Daniel, and this is Metal Sharpens Metal. Normally, I like to analyze music on this channel, heavy music, but today we are going to analyze the man behind the music. This is Mike Perez. He is in a band called No Bragging Rights, and I have featured a couple songs of theirs on the channel already. So if you haven't seen those videos, you can go back after you watch this whole one. I expect you to watch the entire thing. I had no idea that we were going to have interviews on this channel, but yeah, it just worked out with Mike so well. And, you know, it's very fun talking to a like-minded guy. This was a great interview. We got to discuss his faith and his new marriage, his distrust of the government, demons, you know, the usual stuff.
Yikes.
I do have some ideas of how to be a better interviewer now that, you know, getting a little bit of the rust off. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. He's a really down-to-earth, humble guy, and I'm excited for you guys to hear it. So let's go check it out. It seems like very intense work, and you know, maybe you see it as really rewarding. I'm curious, like, you know, I heard that your mom is in social work or was, right?
Yeah, she retired.
Retired. Okay,
hmm
but yeah, would you say that was a big reason why you kind of gravitated that way?
So yeah, the kind of joke is that growing up, I was like, I don't want anything to do with what my mom does because like that sounds so stressful, and like I don't want to go into people's homes, and
Mm.
it just sounded not the move. And so and then I also grew up with my father is a pastor,
Mm.
which my brother is also a pastor, and then so it was like one of those things where like my brother followed my dad, so then it's like, are you gonna follow your dad too? And they're like, no, you're not gonna follow your dad. Okay, so you're gonna follow your mom? I was like, no, no way. And then started touring and doing music, and our message I felt was always good. We were always big on like the early NBR stuff was really big on like kind of putting your money where your mouth is and like pursuing things. Like don't be afraid of taking risks and things like that. You know, and then we lost a friend to suicide, and then like completely changed my life from that moment. Changed my life.
Okay.
The whole talking on stage happened because I was literally venting on stage, not like trying to process like why somebody could do that, why somebody could take their own life, and uh, and so it just like became this thing that over time it became less selfish as far as like I'm mad, I can't believe this to me, I can't believe it was this, me, and then starting to understand like, oh my goodness, the people struggle with something very serious. What is it? And that set me on a path. And then when we stopped touring, I went back to school. Started to do psychology. That's what I was going to do. And then I spoke to a professor from a university close by, and she basically saw that I like the big picture as far as like the person. I want to know like what makes them tick and their
Hmm.
environments and stuff. And so she's like that's social work. Like that's a social worker. So
Yeah.
um, so I just like I'm not even exaggerating when I said that when I went when I applied to get into or transferred to the university, got in, entered the social work, basically the social work program. It didn't even click to me that I was basically doing what my mom did, like because it just
Because you
goes in
came
my
at it
mind,
from your own angle.
my own angle, and in my mind I was
Yeah.
gonna do something completely different. And then when it had to take somebody to tell me like, oh wow, like you're following your mom's footsteps, you're gonna be doing social work.
Hmm.
And I was just like, and almost embarrassed. I was just like, oh my goodness, you're right. Like I hadn't even thought of
Yeah.
it in that way.
That's funny. No, I think the Lord has funny ways of working like that, and you know, just kind of
hmm
making us look at it after everything is like, oh, this already makes perfect sense to me. It's totally different. Oh,
Yeah,
wait a minute.
yeah,
Hang on. That's
yeah.
cool, man.
Um,
Yeah. Gosh, like, and I want to go in so many different directions right now with the
mhm.
whole, you know, questions and where to start, but
For sure.
I guess just starting on the music side, because we aren't going to do like a normal band interview, kind of like you said, but
hmm
just to kind of, yeah, get a couple of questions out there. Did I see somewhere that you play other instruments? You play
Uh,
guitar or
I
something?
I play guitar. I can
Okay.
when MBR started, I played guitar and sang. So we were like
Oh.
we were basically like a really bad MXPX. Like
Okay.
that's kind of what we were. So,
Okay.
but as soon as I met other dudes that were like better at guitar, and also like we kind of started to get towards like more like techie or like heavier in that sense. It was just I was just like, oh yeah, I'm happy to like not play guitar. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I play. I like to say I can play. I play well enough to write.
Okay. Yeah, and I was wondering about that for the sake of your singing, because do you kind of like suggest keys and things like that for the guys to write in that you're like, I really work well right here?
No, but thankfully, especially with no bragging rights, it's all been, I've been with a lot of those dudes for a long time. And so our guitar player has finally kind of honed in and been like, this is your sweet spot. And but
Nice.
I'm pretty sure he's told me what that is. And I'm just not, I don't know what that means because I'd never like studied music or anything like that. And so, I just trust. And so, you know,
Yeah.
my only times is like when I'm just like, hey, I'm struggling here. Unless you guys just want me to turn that into a scream, but this is like a little out of my range, or so a lot of
No,
trial and error.
yeah, well, and it sounds like you have found the sweet spot. Those things that do turn into screams, they work really well because you have that high scream, so it does sound like you're straining and hitting that high note. I love that stuff. You
Oh, thank you,
guys,
man.
yeah, your writing, I've always really appreciated it. I think, like I said in the first video, the first song I heard was Repeater, which was a little more metalcore in some
Yeah,
ways. But you guys definitely go into the hardcore, like kind of like traditional wise. And yeah, would you say that you were kind of, because I also went back and listened to Illuminator and The Consequence of Dreaming and stuff. And
hmm
would you say that that was kind of a hard thing for you guys to figure out back then? Or were you just like, we just like both of these so much, we just want to do them both and mash them? And the people who are purist, hardcore people, because, it's very important to be smart and to
right,
never be wrong. So you have to
right,
know exactly what a genre is. But
yeah.
for those people, like, do you think that it kind of threw off your guys' traction in certain ways, or do you think that it had helped you kind of bring in more people?
Oh man, I think the optimist and positive person, everyone wants to be like, oh, I brought more people in, but it was definitely harder at first because we didn't have a sound. We had all kinds of sounds, right? And so
Yeah.
and it was, and we would see it like on different like tours that we'd be on, where it's like we play our metalcore songs, and these guys dance a certain way, then it goes into like a more traditional hardcore sound, and these guys start moving a certain way, and so it's one of those things where I feel like our album, The Consequence of Dreams, was cool in the sense where we're like, oh, we're finding we're finding elements that work for us, but we didn't hone in on those, which we should have, but we didn't. And then
Hmm.
when we went to our next album, which was Illuminator, we were in our minds, we were like, oh, well, those things that we do naturally, they're going to come out. So let's just go heavy. Like I tried deep, probably no one noticed, but I like tried lowering my scream on that album.
Hmm.
Our gang vocals, a lot of them were like super low. Uh, and it was not the direction that it's not the execution or executed the way we should have done it. We should have focused on what we do, and then just emphasize if this part's harder, if we want to be harder, let's make this part harder, and
Yeah.
not lose like the things that we do naturally do well, because we're more punk, uh, hardcore, as opposed to like a metal band getting into hardcore.
Hmm.
And so
Yeah.
a lot of our so the album after that was Cycles, and that felt more of like, okay, let's just do what we do well and like really hone in on those aspects of our sound, and so I felt like that album was more of like the like finally a cohesive album, and also kind of it just felt good for us, like
Yeah.
I remember recording, and our such an awesome dude, Daniel Casserman, who he did our album Illuminator, and then he did Cycles. And I remember we'd have like good kind of arguments with him. He's a metal guy, so he'd be like, you got to hit this note, and I'm like, I can hit that note, but I'm purposely putting like rasp on it and like screaming, getting my way to it, as opposed to just being able to hit it. Like I could do that, but I want this
Yeah.
to be like raw. I want this to have more. And so there's like a lot of that kind of stuff going on, and things that were like a little loose. He wanted to. We kind of felt like it was more uh, I don't know, more vibey. We want it to be more hardcore as opposed to like precise and metal. And so I think I think Cycles, like that's kind of our more popular that's like our popular album. And I think it's just because that was just very what we wanted to do, and like finally kind of like hitting on all the things that we did. At least that worked well for us was that album, and then Concrete was more into that world. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it was a great progression because I got into Repeater probably a year before you put out Concrete Flower, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I forget, but yeah, I thought it was great. And then this new album, EP, whatever it is, I think it's really well distilled MBR. And I'm no MBR historian or
Mm-hmm.
professional or anything, but it does seem just like, yeah, you guys are finding this really good sound, melodic
Thank you.
hardcore, metalcore components, but yeah, it's super catchy. So with that said, do you
Mm-hmm.
guys have plans for another album soon? Are you writing songs?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
actually so it's one of those things that like I talked so much trash when I was like in it, and we were like a band that toured full time, and that was all we did. And so I was always like, I hate when bands say we're writing, and it's like 2 years later, you know, and it's
Yeah.
like not realizing that like, oh, it's because those other bands are like living like life, and they're not, they haven't abandoned all obligation, just focus on on music.
Yeah.
And so we're writing, and we've been writing since our EP basically. And
Okay.
yeah, so we I think I think we always try to aim album, but we'll be happy settling if we can get an EP, another EP kind of thing, and just get new music out. Um, but yeah, we're definitely writing, and I hope I hope to finish soon. Just because at
Yeah.
the minute we drop new music will be the minute we'll be more we'll be playing more. So.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I'm looking forward to it. There's no pressure coming from me because, just do whatever you guys have to with your lives and making the songs as well as you can. So yeah, I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Um, well, that's sweet, man. Yeah. And I guess speaking to, you mentioned the wife a few times. How did you guys meet? What was that story?
Oh man, so we met again. We were just talking about how like God has plans for us, and it's kind of
Yeah.
like it's almost like funny when like I made such a declaration of like I don't want to travel. Like I'm so happy with my life in Riverside. I'm so happy with like being in this area, this community. Um, Even like with my dating apps, I was like, I don't want to travel. Like, especially Los Angeles. I was like, I don't want to do anything with anything from Los Angeles, especially. Uh, I want to be like super chill, just kind of like just be just live the best introverted life ever, And I've always had this rule that I don't want to date, or I don't like meeting girls in that way at shows, especially my shows. I just
Mm.
feel like it's already an uneven playing field, and there's a whole that's a whole podcast we can go into my thoughts on dating in the scene. And so I met her at my show, and she had known about MBR uh, like when Cycles came out. So 11, 12 years. Um, she had known about us. Actually, she was previously married, so her and her ex actually like were fans of our band. They used to work at
Oh,
this this venue. I believe it was church run, but it was called Murray Hill. Um, and so we've played there. So I don't ever remember meeting her. I'm pretty sure I met her husband at the time, but like it was really in passing and stuff. So I'm saying all this to say that they used to house bands, so bands used to stay with them, and a band from
nice.
Riverside, where we're from, called Darisum, stayed with them, and so they became friends. And so years later, No Bragging Rights comes back. We got offered right out the gates. We had like an Australian tour, and so we were like, we need to like do something like home, at least play a home show before we like do this thing. So we booked a show at Chain Reaction, and then we booked a show in Vegas, and so we just wanted to have just like friends, like homie bands. And so Darsum is a band that we're good friends with. And so she just saw that Darson was playing, so she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go see them." So she came, and then when she was getting the ticket, she saw that we were playing too. So she's like, "Oh, awesome! Like I know of this band too, you know." And so she came to the show, and then it wasn't till we were done playing, and she just came up and just like introduced herself, like,
Hmm.
"Hi, I'm Jordan." She's like super extrovert. She is like wants to be friends with everybody, wants to connect everybody, wants to include everybody.
Yeah.
So she just came up to me just because that's like who she is. It wasn't like a ulterior motive. She just came and introduced herself. She liked what I said on stage, kind of thing. We did a selfie, which is what she does with everybody, and so that was it. And that's how we met. And so everyone's like, "Oh, was it like sparks flying and love at first sight?"
Right.
I was
Right.
like, dude, for me, I was like, no, I barely remember her. Like, I had just gotten off
Right.
stage. I was literally cramping. I was in pain. We just done an hour set, like dying, And so I barely remember her. Like, I barely remember that interaction. She actually tells me what I said. I was like, I don't remember saying that, but
I believe you. Okay. Yes.
yeah, yeah. And so then the next day, I'm going through Instagram, and I just see that I'm tagged in a photo. So I check, and it's like, oh, okay, it's that girl. And normally I don't like follow back or whatever, but I saw that she had taken pictures with some of my friends, and so then I realized, oh, she knows, she's like friends of friends, like she's not just
Yeah.
some random person. So then I followed her back on that. Again, like nothing, we didn't talk. And then when I was flying to Australia, I started just because I have like bad flight anxiety. I hate flying, and so
Hmm.
I'm just on Instagram just trying to find videos to get my mind off of things. And so I found this ridiculous. I love raccoons. I don't know if you can see my shirt actually. It
Oh.
says antidepressants, and it's a bunch of raccoons.
Well,
Yeah,
so that's a theme with the Walking Blind podcast, right? Isn't there a mascot, a
yeah,
raccoon?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
I forced that upon it. Um, but yeah, so I posted this. I don't know how I found it. I found this. There's like a bedspread of this raccoon, this glorious raccoon bedspread. So I posted it on my story, and I just said like, my wife would understand, just being, you know, ridiculous. And so she just laughed at it. She just laughed at it, and then again, nothing. And then she had said, "You should use this when you go on dates. Like, give this to the girl, and how she reacts to it can be an indicator of how." And so that is like what kind of started the conversation, because then I responded to that. Oh, it'd save time and money, and that's how we started talking, just like some like that, the raccoon thing, and then we just we just we just didn't stop talking, and it was never like I can't explain it other than just like it was just fun to talk with her, and she's so like we go to a church that has a lot of this isn't like a bash on it, but there's like so everyone's like single basically,
Hmm.
and so anytime a couple gets engaged or gets married, everyone's coming in and they want to hear,
Yeah.
what's the secret? What do you guys, and so it's just one of those things where my advice, everyone's different, obviously. My advice was like, you know, for me, especially like for me where I was at in my mind, I was about to start tour, and so I'm talking like I become when my band posts anything, I become the hot girl again. All of a sudden now, like I've been here, guys, and so
I took
and
off the
so
glasses.
yeah, I'm like, what changed? Literally your
Right.
post, and so
Uh,
I get people reaching out to me, and it's all kinds of different things, but I ask, oh hey, what do you have going on today? And then most girls, nothing. I'm like, okay, well, I have a 4-hour drive right now, so next. And so but with her, with Jordan, hey, what are you going on today? She's like, oh, just got back from the gym. I'm gonna go eat at so and so, and then I have a women's call at this time, and then I'll probably just watch a show afterwards or whatever. So I'm like, awesome. Like now I know I I have some insight into your life.
yeah. She told me
It's
something.
only something.
Yeah.
And so she was just fun to talk to, and I don't know. I just we have, it's just been that way now for us. I guess I love that. Like apparently I love it. You know, we got
Mm.
married and I didn't, I wouldn't have thought that like, oh, I need a girl that's like really talkative, you know, cause
Yeah.
I feel like I've met people that were talkative, but like, it was just different. It was definitely such a God thing. Um, you know, she checks off all these different boxes that I didn't even know I needed. Like,
Hmm.
you know, on my own checklist, I was just like, oh yeah, I need this, and that. And it's like, no, I don't. I need somebody. Like, I'm getting back into music. I do a podcast. Like, I need to have my social like muscle exercised.
Mm.
And like, what better person than my wife, man? She, like I
Then
said,
an
she
extrovert.
is
Yeah.
extrovert, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, I met her at shows, met her at my show, and you know, I got I got back from Australia April 24th. We went on our April 23rd, and then we went on our first date April 24th. We
Nice. You
got
got the dates.
married. Yeah, yeah. She's like date person, so that's
Yeah.
so now I am with this, and so we got married a year and 2 days after our first date, so April 26th, 24.
Okay. Yeah. That's
So
legit. That's good. I'm a fan of moving a little faster than cultural conventions would say, just for the sake of like, um, what exactly are you doing? Like, if you love this person, why would you drag that out?
right,
Just, you got to get married. You gotta make that commitment. Otherwise it's like, well, then why are you dating? Are you thinking that there might be other people further down?
right,
So
yeah,
I'm a little more
yeah,
old fashioned in that sense. Yeah.
yeah, same. And you know, and this is I don't know you can edit this out if you want, but you know I tell people, you know, and being honest, like we waited until marriage. So I'd never done that before,
Mm.
sadly. Like, just because I didn't see a point to it. I didn't think the person cared. So I didn't care, you know, which is sad thinking back on it now and where I was.
Yeah.
But, you know, I tell people the one time that I waited, we got married. So
Yeah.
if you're like serious about getting married, like, cause there's a lot of people that say they are, but you know, like you said, like how serious are you? If you're dating someone and you don't want to pull the trigger, is it because, like you said, are you waiting for something better to come? Are you like what's happening? And if that's the case, don't
Yeah.
be with that person. Don't waste their time. You
Yeah.
know.
Right.
So
Yeah. There's a pastor I listened to back in the day when I was, before I was married, and he was talking about like every time you date somebody, you do give a little bit of your heart to them, a
hmm
little bit of your soul,
hmm
and if you think that there's no implications for for your future relationships if you do that, then you're fooling yourself. And he was trying to talk to people um, you know before they went a little further than they should have, and things like
hmm
that. But
yeah,
and not to say that Jesus couldn't redeem any relationship that
right,
started on really rocky ground, like many that we hear about.
right.
Um, but yeah, it's still just something to keep in mind. I wasn't really thinking about that a whole lot back in the day. I mean, I was raised
hmm
Christian too, but yeah, it's not something that was always on the front of my mind. So yeah, it's a good thing. It's when you when you kind of go based on God's design, things are going to generally work a lot better. There's just a
Yes,
lot more wisdom wrapped up in there. So
yes. A lot
yeah.
of you know, it's you know we don't feel it, but it's like it literally has our best interest in mind. 'Cause like you said,
Hmm.
we give away something, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Are you guys going to a church related to your family members,
no,
like one that
uh,
you grew up in, or okay,
no. I was raised Seventh Day Adventist,
oh,
and
okay,
yeah, and so I kind of I mean it's been a long time, but I've kind of I don't I'll go to hear like my brother and my dad speak and stuff because they're both pastors, but I kind of consider myself like non-denominational, and
okay,
so the church that we go to out here in LA, I'm not entirely sure what their actual thing is because I'm still very new to it, but
mm,
it's called Evergreen. So if anyone in
cool,
the LA area wants to come, amazing worship team. My goodness, like
mm.
I'm I'm so not used to that. To like
Right,
good like it is. I'm like. like emotional every time they perform. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is so good. Like, anyway, so
Dang.
a
Is it a bit
little.
of a bigger church too?
It's a new church that's growing. You know, it's got
Okay.
like, dude, I'm so bad. You would think that like I can tell you what 30 people looks like or 50 people look like because that was like all I experienced when when we our early days of touring. But I'm so bad at like, oh, this church has like 500 people or 1,000 people,
Right.
or I'm bad at that.
Oh, it's
But
hard. It deceives you based on the size of the room too, I think.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it's good size. I don't think it's not too big that I would feel not connected. Like
Hmm.
it's if I feel like if it gets any bigger, I'd probably want to look for something else.
Hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
No, yeah, totally. We came from a church around three, four, five, nah, maybe not five, 300 or 400 per service, and it felt like you could blend in if you really wanted to and just not talk to anybody.
mhm,
Um, Now we're at a much smaller church of around 100 people, including all the kids,
mhm.
and it's been nice to get to know the leadership much more personally,
Yeah.
and just pretty much everyone. Like every family at least a little bit, and then
Mhm.
you yeah, you can all pitch in to help each other, and drive somebody somewhere, or do a meal train when someone has a baby, things like that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun being more involved. It's like a startup, you just
Yeah.
you have to kind of wear some more hats and more
Right.
responsibility. But yeah, I think I know what you're
Yeah.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's why my wife still goes there because she actually was there when it was pretty still kind of building. Like it's really taken off, I think, in the last like 2 years or so.
Mm,
Um, just from I haven't been there very long, but just based on what I've seen and they told me and the kind of talks they have with leadership and stuff. So
yeah.
it's a cool church. It's LA, so there's so much like just like turnover. I guess I don't know if the word is. Like people transitioning in and out always.
Yeah.
Uh, and so that's been like that's like kind of been one of the weird hard things about LA. It's like, oh,
Mm,
here I met this really cool person, and then they're moving back home, and it's like, oh, I don't know if we'll see them again.
yeah.
Like, so,
Yeah. Dang. Is LA? You said you didn't want to move there originally. Is it a place you can see you guys kind of settling down? Are you just is this for a stage and then move somewhere else?
yeah, I think we plan on staying out here. It also makes it actually makes more sense work wise for the both of us, just because um, for so my wife is a professional organizer.
Oh,
She also does furniture and furniture assembly and packing, unpacking. And so LA being like this transit place, like she does well out here. Um, so it just makes sense, and that's for us to be out here for that. And then for me also, like there's so many like especially for social work and things like that. There's a lot of jobs out here. So
mm,
I can see us, you know, our I can see us staying at least out here or close, LA area, LA County. Um, and yeah, we like where we're at, but I think eventually once we can save enough, then we'll probably try to find a our thought is funny because we're both on the same page. Like we both don't need like this like big house whatever. Plus it's LA, so how big of a house can you get? But we want to have a place that we can at least entertain because
mm,
we just yeah we just like that. Especially my wife, she loves to have people over, and so
yeah.
that's kind of our thoughts right now as far as like we like where we're at, but eventually try to find like a place big enough that we could at least entertain like friends and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. That sounds good. Well, and speaking of, we can cut this out if it gets too personal at any time or whatever. But are you guys planning on kids, or what's like kind of the longer term vision for the marriage in general?
So we both would we're both because I'm gonna be 41 in October. She turns 39 in August.
Okay.
So yeah, young enough that we can still have kids, obviously, like but also it's we're entering some that territory. But I think we both want to, but right now our situation it would be rough. And I
Mm,
know everyone's like, oh no, you'll never find the perfect situation to do it and all that stuff. I agree, but also like I think we want to make sure that we can just get on our feet together and be in a good spot. before we even like try to make like that kind of thinking become a
Hmm.
thing. And also like, I feel like if, that being said, if like, God works in, awesome ways. And so I wouldn't be surprised if things happen in a good way and then we could, accelerate that and things happen. But
Yeah.
also, we're also both very okay with like, if we don't, we both have
Okay.
nieces and nephews. Um, I think also for myself, something that's helpful for me was, I was, I was single as of a year and like 2 months ago, basically, right? So, I was like already accepting like, oh, I'll probably be like a stepdad if I meet someone, and kind of in that kind of thinking just because of where I was with my age and the girls that I kind of, would have interest in and would not. And so I think we're both just kind of, uh, we want to get ourselves in a place where we can start to like really make that happen. And then if it happens, awesome. And if it doesn't, then like I
Yeah.
said, we will be good. I'm sure it'll be because we have, we'll be able to serve in other ways. And, uh, we have, like I said, we have nieces and nephews to love on. So,
Yeah.
and friends, kids too,
Right. Right. Yeah. No, I hear that, and I mean, first of all, for 41, I mean, the salt and pepper thing you got going on, it's looking great.
Oh, thank
So
you.
you're looking great for 41 for sure. But but yeah, it's hard. If I could give any encouragement, I guess the mental hurdle from 0 to 1 was harder for definitely my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She said that was the most difficult, and probably for me too. But but yeah, once you are there, it's like okay, you can't envision anything else, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just so great. You wouldn't wish that they were gone after you
Mm-hmm.
after you start meeting them. You're just like, oh man. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
no,
with my nieces, I kind of, you know, my nieces, I can't. That's the other thing too. Like that. That's why like I'm not. I don't think I could ever be like, oh no, I don't want kids because like
hmm,
the love I feel for my niece, both of them when they were born, they're not even mine, and would literally I would do anything. I think
yeah,
so.
yeah. No, you definitely have the heart of a parent. I think in general of just like that big love you have for vulnerable people. I mean that goes to your work and yeah, people who are so sweet and kind of
Mhm.
overlooked at times. Um, do you, and it's just you and your brother, or do you have another sibling?
No, it's just my brother and I.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, well, cool. Yeah, no, that's cool, man. Yeah, like you said, thinking back a year, things have changed so massively. It's like how can you possibly predict 1 year
Right.
from now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't even. That's why I cautiously kind of will when I respond to things because it's like, dude, I don't I don't even if I know if I told you about my work. I mean, my work, this job came about
pretty
like,
fast.
oh my goodness, I been dragging my feet. I've applied places and I've talked to different places and stuff, and I was just so afraid of like doing because my last experience was pretty rough. I worked at a boys' home, pretty rough,
Mm,
and so I was just kind of like, man, Lord, please, please, like my prayers were so selfish, man. They were like let this be fast. Let like the first place that called, I don't know, like let it be easy. Also, let it be a place that like will give me like restore my faith in this in this field. And like I was like, please shut the doors that need to be shut. Please open the ones that need to open. And so I said this prayer on Monday. On Tuesday, first message I get is this company and they're this nonprofit. And so they read, hey, like we like your resume. We'd love to speak with you.
mm,
Cool. Uh, and this was like I got this later on. So then they're like, well, can we call you tomorrow? Like, yeah, sure. So then Wednesday morning after work, I get on the phone with them. We talk. We talk kind of like my. It was kind of a cool talk because they asked my resume and then other kind of things that involve me with youth and stuff. And so I told them how I coached high school baseball. Told them about my band, things like that. And so then they were like, can we interview you tonight? Can we put you in to get an interview tonight? And I was like, yeah, sure. So then that night got on a Zoom call, and it just went so well. and then
That's
they
awesome,
offered me a job after the interview.
man.
And so I was like, oh dang, dude, this is great. Like God has come through. It's just crazy in the way He comes through, and it just feels
Mm,
like so. It's like so humbling, and just like I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't deserve that. I don't deserve speed like that. I don't deserve an answer like that.
mm,
And it's always been very, I tell people like sometimes, and I've had a conversation with friends in the church, even out of the church, that I'm just like, sometimes I just feel it almost feels irresponsible for how I just trust and what I do, and just I'm just like, am I'm putting initiative to things, and I care, and I'm trying, but like I just feel like I don't fear things because I'm just like, well, God has that, right? Like the whole, I don't want to get into anything political, but the whole lockdowns and things like that, I was scared 0 days just because I'm like, okay, well, like what can we do like other than just trust, right? And so I
mhm.
I went through that. Like it was fun. Also, I'm an introvert, so like being inside was like I was like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
yeah, I love that.
Sorry,
So
I can't go
yeah.
over. Yeah.
Oh man,
Uh,
I want to listen. I really want to listen to these rules, guys. Darn. But and so I trust, and I pray all the time, so much for everything, always, and and just like when things happen, I still like I almost feel like guilty about it, because just like that the job thing, it happened so incredibly fast, like it went so smooth. Like I was enjoying the conversation that's happening with the people interviewing me, which is like never
mm,
the case. I'm always like sweating and stuff, and so I don't know. So it's just like it was that for me, like a complete God thing. Like you said, things could change very quickly, and
yeah.
so right now maybe not the time, but in like 2 days maybe it is. I don't know.
2 days, right? Yeah. No, I mean, and then yeah. In James, he says, "How can you say what you'll do next year, what you will do and won't do?" It's like,
Hmm.
yeah, just say yes when you mean it, say no when you mean it.
Yeah.
Don't think you can perfectly plan everything out.
All right.
God laughs at our plans.
Dude. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. See those.
yeah. Well, that's cool. And so, um, well, and I have a note. I wanted to mention the Christian Bale shirt. It is
Hmm.
funny. It is a good joke. Now that I have the background
Uh,
of your faith and stuff, and I was just like, yeah. For context, the first video that I did about the concrete flower, that was where I said I saw that on stage once, and I was like, oh cool. And then he turns around, it said hardcore Christian, and then on the back Bale fan, and I was like, oh man, he just smacking me. But no,
yeah.
that's
Well,
that's not
and
what you
that
meant. Yeah,
yeah, and like under the context that you were working with, I would be offended too. I'm like, oh sweet, this guy is on our side. You know. So
yeah. I mean, yeah, and that was the time when a lot of bands, like I was trying to kind of decipher hidden messages in the lyrics.
mhm.
I started with like Thrice, and well, I mean I started with a few different bands, but they were one of the
Mhm.
first ones that I really started diving into the lyrics and being like, hang on, there's something here that doesn't seem like it just seemed deeper. And then I started looking at it. I was like, wait, these are either like straight up Bible stories, or he's saying, your grace leads me through. Like, so you started to very easily pick up those clues. Other people, I
Mhm.
think, disagreed, and they were like, no, Thrice isn't Christian. Um, but yeah, it was the time of like looking for kind of some of those clues, and that
Mhm.
was way before. I didn't see you guys before YouTube was a thing, but before it was like a bigger thing and people were doing interviews and talking about their beliefs and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, it was just like, yeah, it was like I thought I found the breadcrumb, and it's like, oh, that's not what that was. Okay,
Yeah.
but
I was saying with
no,
Thrice, dude. Thrice for me
yeah,
was what was frustrating with them was like because they pull a lot from like so they do a lot they have references to the Bible and parables and things, and then
yeah,
but then they also have stuff from like Edgar Allan Poe, and they have all these like.
mm,
So I'm always like, hey, what is this? Is this? Oh, this is
dang
like
it,
this is Edgar Allan Poe. But
oh
they
yeah,
did have they did have their I love like especially those early albums of Thrice are
mm-hmm.
I hold those top
Oh yeah,
just
yeah. No, it was very clear. Dustin read a lot, and I was like, okay, he is very smart. There's certain things
yeah
I can understand, and then there's other things I'm like, well, I probably should read more books or something.
yeah Dude, did
But
you get
yeah.
the so when they like I have it here, like I was gonna just pull up my Thrice CD. I don't know why I was doing that. When Thrice released Artist in the Ambulance, I don't know if it was every album, but the album I got or the CD I got, when you opened the booklet, it had cards, and the cards explained references to the songs.
Oh
It was the
snap.
first, dude. It was the first time I'd
Huh.
ever like like just really quick, like for instance, in the card it says when he's uh, uh I I crack my teeth on pearls. Like
Yes.
that's a reference to The Simpsons, where like the grandpa bites into a pearl or something.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah, I
cool.
don't,
What?
yeah, yeah.
The
So it's like,
Simpsons sounds so
yeah,
poetic.
I know. And so it was like, so it was cool that they gave these like little, because I think they're clear to say like we're not going to tell you exactly what this
Hmm.
mean or whatever, but we'll tell you what some of these like fun things are. So it was like little bits, and it
Okay.
was like, yeah, it's the coolest thing.
Yeah, no, I that now that you're saying that, I actually do remember because one of the times we visited my aunt in Burbank, and I'm thinking, oh, Thrice is a California band, and I'm here where they started, and I think I was reading through some of those lyrics, and it was like it was so it was on the illusion of safety. It was so hard to like. It was just expanding my categories in my mind of like how people could write lyrics and
Yeah.
yeah, and how they could make references and tie them all back together. You know, we're all floating face down, and you know, people just like as a metaphor for ignorance and stuff. It's
Hmm.
so cool. There was just a lot to latch onto there, and then you try to stand on the shoulders of giants when you do your own work
Yeah.
and use that to build off of. So yeah, yeah, very cool stuff.
Yeah. They
Um,
definitely help broaden that.
yeah, yeah. Well, and speaking of books and stuff, are you reading anything, watching any shows, playing any video games? I know you have tons of free time because you're only in like, well, yeah, and you can speak to this too if you want first, but you're in like three bands right now, like
Uh,
two other ones.
yeah. So one of them we haven't announced it or anything. I don't think we will announce it, but we're one of the bands we're going on a hiatus. My band
Oh,
Burner State.
okay.
So
I saw
I mean,
that. Yeah.
yeah, that's just like a so. But yeah, so so Easy Out is like the one that's really getting a lot of momentum right now. That
Cool.
one's just it's just fun. It's so ridiculous. Like it's
Yeah.
all the '90s like skate punk that we were into. It was like the kind of like punk rock I wish I could have played, and but I couldn't. Like my guitar playing was like I loved like Slick Shoes, Strung Out.
Slick
Uh,
shoes, man.
yeah, like
Yeah.
I loved all those bands, but I can play Green Day songs. Like I can only play
Yeah.
like really easy, like you know.
Oh
So
man.
now, actually, I can't remember if we talked about this, but do you remember the band Off the Record? They were on Tooth and Nail.
I don't know if I know them.
So uh, they they were like, especially in, being like the age I was at when I discovered them, they were a Tooth and Nail band. They were like they were very like strung out, like very metal. Like they had
Hmm.
the cool metal guitars in punk rock,
Hmm.
and oh man, like they were like I'd seen that it's funny because now I'm in Easy Out with the guitar player who wrote the album that I loved from them,
Oh,
and
that's awesome.
yeah, and so it's just like it's just crazy. Like I used to just I think we like talking how like I basically like punished him about like asking him how he got his guitar, or his amp to sound the way it does. And I think he very nicely was like, basically, you have to have good gear and like know what you're doing, which clearly you
Yeah.
don't. So I think he told me to get like a certain like pedal and just like drop the mids or something, or yeah, drop the mids, scoop the mids. I don't know what he said,
Scoop the
but
mids, maybe. Is
scoop
that
the
the
mids
term?
probably. I think so. And
Oh man.
so, but yeah, so that band's just fun. It's actually it's old member, our bass player. He used to be No Bragging Rights. He was in he was with us for Consequence and Illuminator, that era. And so he's
Nice.
playing bass on this. And so harmony wise, it's been fun to like sing with him again. Uh, we were also like, he was like my karaoke buddy when we were, hanging out all the time. And so yeah, and then our other guys are my buddy Mike that I do the podcast with, and he's on guitar. He sings in a hardcore band called Torture Culture. He used to sing in this band way back in the day called Creative Void. And then the drummer for Creative Void is now our drummer. He's also the drummer for the band Voodoo Glow Skulls, like a ska punk band from out here.
Oh, that kind of sounds familiar, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, and Voodoo's been around since like '89 or something, or 80 something, 88,
Okay.
89.
No, that does sound like a fun project. Yeah, really cool that you can be with some people that you've been with before and still have some chemistry going.
Yeah, and it's fun. I love heavy music, but man, like '90s like skate punk is like that's my jam.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, and you know the melody threads that you can see in heavy music and in softer music.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the melody is all that it takes to make it heavy in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that just goes back to why you guys are such an awesome band, I think, is because you can put those melodies that get stuck in your head and they give you something to latch onto. And yeah, and if you can do it in heavy music, which I prefer, that's my favorite thing. But usually if there's no melody in a heavy song, it's like, okay, yeah, what is actually here for me? So I can see wanting to, even fulfill that outlet even more and go back into skate punk and pop punk type of stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll be watching that one. That's gonna be fun.
Hmm.
Okay, so we go to heaven. God says we can review one scene from history. I mean, maybe more than that, but for now, one scene. What would be your first pick from the Bible, from any history?
Oh man, it's funny is I've in this like past like month, I feel like because I asked my coworkers all kinds of questions just to keep us engaged when we're working. And so my thing is always like, if you can go to a point in history, where would you go? That's like the thing. So, it's one of those things where it's hard because like, for me, it's like I kind of want, the crucifixion, but also like, do I want to see, I don't know, do I want to see that,
Yeah.
It's like part of me also wants to see like, it's probably not the best, but it's like, I don't know, I kind of want to see, maybe I want to see Samson slay 1,000 Philistines. Like,
Dude,
you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the strongest man in history. I mean, why wouldn't you want to see someone like that work?
Yeah, I was so bad. Elijah calling down fire, like, I don't know. There's so many things. I feel like the ones I was going back and forth on are like, crucifixion, which is always a weird one because it's like, I feel like that's literally the most important moment in history of all time. Or the resurrection. I guess the resurrection.
Yeah.
Actually, I say resurrection. That's probably, obviously, I think that also just more the fact of what it is and how cool it was, but also like how incredibly amazing that must have been would I even be able to see that? Would my eyes be able to even handle, all that glory and stuff? I don't know.
Right.
So
yeah, no, those are great answers.
What are yours?
Oh man, I mean, yeah, that all sounds amazing. I was thinking like, well, the earliest thing I would want to see is like probably creation, just getting to watch that and like you get put in some kind of air-filled bubble spacesuit thing, and you're just like watching it all happen. That'd be so cool. I mean, just all the big stories you see from the Bible. I think, the crucifixion, it would be heartbreaking because, even for the disciples seeing it back then, it was insane. And they had spent, several years with him. So it wasn't like they had no context, but now we've got the whole context of the Bible. We know exactly what it means. Like Paul told us all the implications theologically and stuff. And, and we've seen kind of the effect of the gospel and, in just renewing creation and making the world a better place in different ways. So like that would be almost too much for a person today to go back and see a person who is a Christian and loves their Lord. So, but that would be amazing. That the ascension, Yeah, all of that stuff. See Doubting Thomas like touching his hands and stuff, and
Mhm.
yeah, that'd be super cool.
And my
Um,
mind always goes to like action stuff, which is
mm,
like I don't know, fun at the best, but like I said, like the Samson thing,
yeah,
David and Goliath, obviously, and then like
mm,
also like David and his like his mighty men, like
yeah,
the stuff they did. That's why like I'm it's not a mystery that like Hollywood is for the most part controlled by like satanic Luciferian people that don't want to get that out. It's like you have easily one of the coolest movies ever. If you wanted an action movie, you could have it based on David and then his men.
right,
There it is. There's your summer blockbuster, like
dude.
action. But
Yeah,
yeah, wonder
yeah.
so.
No, you're totally right. They could have made it. I mean, yeah, because what they try to do, Noah's Ark, right? With
Mhm.
I forget his name right now.
Oh yeah, with
Not
Russell
Terrell.
Crowe.
Oh, Russell Crowe. Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, and it's like they had to make it all crazy, and I don't know. I didn't watch it, but I heard that there were just all these extra like weird creatures crawling out of the earth or something. And it's like you kind of don't need that. Like you can just let the story
Right.
be be
Yeah,
pretty
they
wild as it is.
is basically they. It was like somebody who read like the Book of Enoch and was like, "Oh, let's make this. Let's do
Oh,
this." That's
gotcha.
basically what it is. Because
Okay.
I saw it and I was like, this doesn't make sense. And then later on, I read the Book of Enoch just to kind of see what it was about, and I was like, oh, this is what they took for the Noah movie, basically.
Hmm.
So
Well, and speaking to that, another scene that would be really cool is seeing them spying out the Canaanite land with all the Nephilim
oh
walking around and stuff, just the
yeah,
giants. It's
yep,
like there's giants down there. It's like, yeah, but the land is good. We should probably
yeah,
go get it. Yeah. Gosh, that'd be wild. Hopefully we'll just be able to kind of watch the whole Bible like in real time when we're in heaven, because yeah,
yeah,
it'd be
uh,
fascinating, all of it.
yeah. I imagine if we can capture moments here on our screens and our brains, and then we can make this, I'm pretty sure he could like
Oh
give
yeah,
us, we can be in it and not have to. I don't know. I can't. Yeah, I can't wait.
yeah,
I can't wait.
yeah, totally. No, man, something you just said. Oh, yeah, satanic and demonic stuff. This
Mhm.
was something I had that I was that I put in a question. I didn't send this one to you, but I was thinking about this because when I grew up in the Christian home I was in, it was kind of like it wasn't explicit teaching from my parents or anything like that, but just I had a little bit more of a naturalist kind of viewpoint of things. Like I didn't think as
Mhm.
much about angels and demons. I mean, that movie Seventh Heaven, or the show, was on TV back then, and I think
Mhm.
that there's an angel in that show walking around.
Mhm.
Um, but it was kind of like, oh, that's just like you know, kind of nice stories. I don't think it would really happen.
Mhm.
Um, and so likewise, then the demonic side, I kind of downplayed that in my mind too. But now I think in the last few years, I've been thinking about that stuff a little bit more and just understanding that it is real. There is spiritual warfare that goes on.
Mhm.
There's dark principalities and powers out there, and they actually do have some influence over our world. It may not be as overblown as some of these crazy churches seem to think, where they're like the ones literally driving the devil out of like
Yeah.
their church every single Sunday, and it's like, why
Right.
does it keep coming back?
Right.
But you know, but I think there is more than just kind of the naturalistic, like it's just what we can see with our eyes.
Mhm.
So it with that, how has that shaped or has it shaped your view on mental health and some of the not specific people you work with, but like people in these really hard situations? Do you feel like there is kind of a spiritual side of it that we don't see, we don't acknowledge as much? Yeah, talk to that a little bit.
Yeah. So, um, I do, and I'm just so when it comes to like the mental health side of things, and like something like depression, things like that. Like I feel it's weird because I don't know enough to say like this is exactly what it is and that's why this happened.
Mm,
But from the little from my understanding, demons are real, right? Like they're mentioned in the Bible. They're literally like there's several stories where they're mentioned by name and things like that. So they're real, and they set to destroy us, right? And so when I feel like someone has, you know, let that in and it's taken over and like things happen, like I don't want to just say like, well, that's, they they did this because they were demon possessed, and you know, like I feel like there's so that's such a weird, it's such a very not qualified for that, right? So I would never
Mm.
say like, oh, that's this, that wasn't this, it was actually that. I don't know if I could ever fully say that, um, unless I had some kind of interaction and like I was spoken to in a certain way. You know what I mean?
Mm.
You heard it, but I've I'm I strongly believe in like the that world, like that realm that we're thankfully like we don't see, uh, but I I I totally believe in its existence. I totally believe in like just that there's like demonic presence in our everyday life. Like it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Um, even I don't know if I mentioned this to you, but there'll be times on tour where I just, even when I wasn't like the moments where I felt like at my lowest in like my walk, and I would just, I'd be on certain tours and there'd be certain moments where I would just feel it. I just feel like,
Mm.
ooh, like, that is not peace. That's not love that I'm feeling right now. Like that is something else.
Yeah.
And I'd have that. And sadly, I kind of would have that with certain people that I meet where I would be like, ooh, okay. Um, and so I don't know. Sadly, I guess all I say is I do feel like there is some hand in hand to it. Uh, the uh, you know everything, the depression, the suicidal ideation, the you know certain 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 what's the word I'm thinking of? I don't know. I definitely believe it's there. I don't know that I could ever like diagnose it as far as like a you know if I was licensed and all that stuff to like be able to say, oh, this is what this is.
Yeah.
But I feel like there is a tie in it. Sadly,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it also, the tie of it could also be that you know there was abuse in the home. There was things like that in like the upbringing, which allowed this to be around them, to be encamping the family, to be influencing the family, like this this dark presence, whatever it is, this demonic presence. Sadly, I feel like that's a thing, because you asked me about conspiracy stuff, and this is like a whole thing for me too, with like
Yeah.
Hollywood and government stuff. But uh, it's very easy to kind of get discouraged when you realize, oh, this is everywhere. But of course it is, because this is, as of right now, for right now, this is Satan's domain. Like this is his his like little his world, right? Which like great job, man, great job with all the so it's like, so no, so yeah, so that stuff is gonna be everywhere. It's in everything. He said, he told Jesus like, give you, I'll give you these kingdoms. Like he can't give something that isn't his, basically, right? Like because otherwise it's an empty offer. He's saying that because he does control our governments, our leaders, and all that stuff. Like he's in that. Like the devil is in that. Like that's everywhere. So then that trickles down into literally everything, and into our schools, into our media that we consume, into you know certain churches. It's everywhere, and so I feel like it can get super discouraging when you realize, like, man, we are just completely surrounded. There
Mm.
is a sophisticated attack on Christ, not just good people, not just people who believe in greater powers. No, there's a sophisticated attack on Christ and like his church and his, everything him. And so even though that is what we are surrounded by, like we believe in something far greater. And it's also been cool to see, people being delivered from that. I kind of feel for myself being delivered from a lot of situations,
Mm.
the world that I'm in, the world that I keep putting myself into. I'm not as bummed out as I used to be when I used to like
Mm.
just think like, oh my goodness, like I have to be in this for the rest of my life. Like this is, I'm gonna the rest of my life here on earth. Like this is what I have to experience. and
Yeah.
that would get depressing for me. Like that would, and that's all, and that's like a cycle of like invite, you know, I feel like I'm opening myself to, but but I've just
Yeah.
found hope in God, and Jesus is true power, and yeah, it's made
Right.
life easier.
Not a mockery of the power
Right.
like the devil kind of has sometimes. Yeah. No, that's all really good. I think because you're in the hardcore scene too. You're in heavy music. Like I think that there's a lot of um, a lot of people who don't love Jesus and they're hurting and they love Satan and their sin and they gravitate to some of that heavier music sometimes.
Hmm.
Um, and it's not to say that the heavy music is the problem, because I think that actually it's really funny. I didn't even realize that I was going to wear this shirt today, but we're talking about this is a pastor out of Arizona. His name's Jeff Durbin. But he's said this before, and other people have too, that neutrality is a myth. Like there's no like thing that's just kind of sitting here, and if if we just like leave religion out of it or something, it's just going to be this neutral thing. And with music, even it's never neutral. Like it's either kind of like you said, being influenced and run by Satan or by the Lord. If there are
Hmm.
believers involved, and and I think it's an awesome thing for believers to be in all kinds of industries and professions and things like that, because um, they can bring that light and that hope and that peace that you talked about into those things in a great way. So, do you want to dive into the conspiracy theories, because you mentioned that briefly?
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
so I mean, I'll throw kind of a one that I feel like is like not much of a conspiracy as far as like I shouldn't say that because it is a conspiracy because it's not. I feel like there's still so much the word is not ignorance to it, but just it's like it gets a pass, right? But
Hmm.
uh, like sex trafficking is like it's a thing. Pedophilia is a massive thing,
Hmm.
you know. And my so in my I went through kind of towards the end of my time touring is when I actually started to really get into like conspiracy stuff, just because like I had so much time on my hands when you're driving from like state to state, and so uh, it kind of started with me, like it was more of a like a political kind of thing. Like, man, the government doesn't have our best interest. Like they're trying to scam, you know, the American public out of this and that. And so it started with like this distrust of like the government and just like they're like clearly lying to us. Why is nobody reacting to this? Like this president,
Hmm.
every president said this, and this, and then they did opposite of that. Like, why is nobody
Yeah.
doing anything about it? Why aren't we saying anything? And so I went on this like path to like kind of like see the corruption of like the government and stuff. And then from that, it kind of it took me down like a more like a deeper, more concerning thing, which I started to like learn about like different organizations that had a hand in like how the world runs and like and how these certain groups protect other groups. And I started to see like this whole like network of like you know we we think that like Satanists, Luciferian, we think that all that like the worshiping of Bale and all that stuff and like child sacrifice and human sacrifice, we think that's like old time, like that was just
Hmm.
when you know in Babylonian time, or that was just when there was like primitive like tribes in South America that were doing these sacrifices and stuff. No, that stuff is still here, and they just carry different names.
Yeah. And they're more
Sacrificing,
hidden.
they're more hidden. Sacrificing baby, like you think that's nothing. That is a satanic ritual that is happening when you sacrifice a baby. And I wonder
Yeah.
where that happens, that we see. So, and those doctors are priests, dude. They're priests.
All right.
Like,
Just one FBI guy, please just let him finish. This is
yeah,
fire. Please, before you come kill me.
yeah. Oh,
Oh
dude.
my
So,
gosh. No,
yeah,
yeah. Sorry. Keep going. You're totally right.
yeah. So it's like, so it's just like this stuff is like here, right? It's there's people we call doctors, they're priests, like straight up, they're priests from a time that we think was gone. It's here, and that's what it is. And so I started to see like, oh, the influence and like like man, there's evil again. I was very you know, to put it mildly, nicely, I was very like lukewarm in where I was, on my
Mm.
walk, and I was kind of very okay with like, yeah, live, you do you, universe, God, it does what you think, good for you, I believe God, but whatever. I was very like just didn't care, and was very okay with like these things around me. I kind of almost had to be. It felt like that's what I thought I had to be. I had to be just okay with all this craziness in my life and around me.
Mm.
And then I started to like realize like, oh, this like evilness that I feel, it's not just, again, it's not just targeted at good people. It's not just this attack on like religious figures. It's an attack on Christ. Like it's so honed in on Christ. Like
Mm.
there's other religions and other leaders in religions that have taken like, yeah, they, you know some are almost like, it's almost like a I don't know how to explain it. Like it's such a different it's such a different attack on like on what the media says about other uh like figures in of religion. Like it's so different and so not fair. Like on how you know these other religions get like a pass as opposed to like with
Mm.
Christianity. Christianity is like openly mocked. Like it's mocked in movies, it's mocked in TV, it's mocked everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that basically was kind of in a weird way almost brought me back to like wanting to make a stronger connection and and be stronger in my own faith and it really did sour my last couple my last couple months of being in a band the way I'd always been in a band. It really soured that for me because I started to see things around me that I was just like, oh,
Mm.
I don't think I could be okay with that anymore, or like I don't like that. And then even going further back, like some of my own lyrics, where I was just like, oh man, I don't
Mm.
like I. There's a fine line of being like, I want to leave things open to interpretation, but also there's things that are like that is like not that's like not even open for interpretation. That's like basically it's like spiritualism basically, which is like some of like the area that I would like toe. So it's like, oh, I don't want to openly say this is like Jesus Christ or this is God. So I can like,
Mm.
I'll say things like, like the universe or something, or I don't know. I don't even know if I use universe, but anyway, there's like things that
Sure.
even in my own lyrics that I was just like, oh man, like that is like, if, if somebody wants to latch on to like the spiritual, like or their spirituality, like they can take that. And it's like, and I've given that to them. And so,
That's interesting. Just to take a quick tangent, because what I really like about your genre of music, I feel like a lot of the songwriters are very clear about what they mean. They're very honest about what they're feeling, and it's not like this super metaphorical woo woo kind of like it could mean anything. It's like, no, I'm talking about like a specific interaction with somebody or whatever it is.
mhm.
Do you have I mean, would you be comfortable saying like a song that you have in mind that that you're like, okay, if I could go back, maybe I'd write it this way. I wouldn't write it at all. Anything like that, or
Yeah, there's
not
like
that you
certain
would want to
things.
ruin somebody's favorite song, you know?
Yeah, I mean, and this is like just the one that comes out, or I'm like, oh, like even just, and it sounds harmless, but when you come from, a background of ours, it's, our song, uh, is it, I'm not going to look up the lyrics to my own song. I'm pretty sure it's Damage Recover. And, the lyric is, I am
Okay.
my own champion. And,
Oh, okay.
and I meant it in the sense of like, you got to be able to do things for yourself. You got to be able to like
Hmm.
be a participant in like changes going on in your life, right? Like and like that was like the sentiment. That's like the feeling. I think it came from a good place, but like I know people that have like tattooed that or they put it on like that's like their motto. I am my own champion,
Hmm.
and it's like there's like there is some. I understand where you're going with that, but like now it's like now you've taken out. Uh, you've taken out room for for the real champion in your life. And so that one for me is like one of the ones where I'm like, oh man, I could have like that's a bummer because like I said, I've seen it used
Hmm.
in that context of like I did this, You know,
Yeah, right.
I'm the master of my own life, and I'm like, oh,
Not
that
what I was
was
going
not,
for.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so yeah, you're trying to be more um, clear and precise, and you want to be truthful in how you speak. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm sure we've all done those types of things, and not all of us have been in bands since we were teenagers, so we
yeah,
haven't like put it out in public.
yeah,
Some of us were spared even before the internet was a thing. We just maybe said it to a friend, and then it's like,
yeah.
oh, maybe I
The
should call
thing,
one person and apologize.
dude, I have moments where I literally will like thank God. I'm like, thank you, Lord, that there was no social media when I was in high school. Like,
Oh,
thank you that camera phones were like not a thing, Lord. Thank you. Like,
uh,
there's already bad enough just like handheld
uh,
incriminating evidence of my buddies not being just stupid high schoolers, but to
you're just
have
lighting
that on
off
you,
fireworks, I'm sure. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
But oh
Oh man, yeah, it's wild. He knows what we can handle. He knows what we need. He preserves us through so much, and you hope that that just leads to a point in life where you are looking back and just giving him thanks for all of that, and saying, now let me use this as a way to uh, disciple other people away from those things.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, and one of the things that coming back with the MBR coming back, right, and like thankfully for the most part, our set is like songs that I can at least it at least it's giving me opportunities to kind of like talk out some of the things that maybe I don't stand or I don't really feel the same way anymore.
Hmm.
Um, but that's kind of one of the things I'm looking forward to, and that's kind of been a a prayer that it's like, you know, Lord, let me right some of these wrongs if that's possible, you know, or let me have opportunities to like speak to someone who may be getting something different, you know, let me, you know, because I know He can do that. I know He'll put those people in my path, and I'm willing to like be wrong in those conversations to be like, this wasn't what I meant, you know, or like this was I don't know. I guess like I've had even on the last tour we did, or East Coast tour, I had some pretty cool conversations that I didn't plan for them to go the way they did,
Hmm.
and it was just kind of cool to have just these like brief moments to be able to like, because I don't, you know, I don't I don't I don't talk on stage about my faith. I've never really done that, you know, and so just because again I don't want the mon I don't think my band deserves the the that powerful title of being called a Christian band. Like that's such a sacred thing, and
Hmm.
it just drives me nuts. The bands that take it and I feel like they disrespect it. And so
Hmm.
I've been just super thankful to have moments where I get to talk off stage with somebody, and then they'll share like, oh, you know, it's cool that you pull your strength from like your friends. I'm like, that's one place, yeah, that's one part of my support system. But like, I'm a Christ believer. Everything goes through Him first. Everything goes through prayer first. So I'm able to
Yeah.
have those moments now, and which I didn't think I had. I didn't really have too many of them like that. Or I guess I wasn't like as prepared to like have those discussions, you even off stage kind of thing. Like, so I don't know. I feel like I'd like to think that there's some areas where I've been able to kind of uh, I don't know. Like I said, right some wrongs in a way. And,
Yeah. Well, and it's a fine line of being maybe maybe you can speak to this since you're a musician, you've been in this world. Like, did you see, because one thing I've said in a couple of my videos, it really bugged me when a band was trying to be really loosey goosey with some of the belief stuff, but because in one song they said the word, they said like, oh my God, and but they said it in a way that was like, oh, he's crying out for help, so that's a Christian band, so they're on tooth and nail. Like, it just all kind of just gets you funneled into this, like, into this category of you either have to be a fully Christian band, and then the drummer and the bassist and one guitarist are all like, we don't fit in here all of a sudden,
yeah.
or you have to be a totally secular band. Every band, I think, purports some religion. I mean, that goes to that phrase again.
Yeah.
Um, but do you think that there's a way to be a frontman in a band that could say from stage, "Hey, come talk to me"? Like, I find hope in Jesus Christ. You know, we are not here as a Christian band. We are not here putting on a church service for you or anything, but we are here, uh, you know, to play some music, and a lot of the meaning I don't know. Is there some kind of way that that could be distinguished, or do you see kind of that tooth and nail solid state problem where people are just like, you have to be all the way in this box, like all of you have to think exactly the same, all 5 members or whatever, or you have to be totally out? Did you kind of see that a little bit?
Oh man, so it's hard because like I feel like when you title yourself something, you got to back it up. Like that's like I guess the biggest thing. So like if there's a straight edge band, I expect all your members to be straight edge. Like that's
Mm.
just that's just me. Like maybe that's just me, and I know that's not the case. I'm actually friends with, with bands, and that's not the case at all. And
Yeah.
I love them and I support them. I just think that it's like, man, if you're gonna carry that, like you guys, I feel like you should have dudes that all rep that.
Mm.
And so I think you know, and and maybe I'm saying that because there's a part of me that also kind of is envious of like, well, I'd like to have that Christian title of my
Mm.
to be called that, but I know that's just I for my for the guys in my band, um, it just doesn't feel like it would be right to do, because like the minute we say that, and I could say, I can even change how I write my lyrics and make it mean more so on the nose, and I know I could still have guys that would still want to play with me, guys I want to play with too, but they're not believers. And so the minute there's somebody who's like feeling a certain way about us and goes to talk to the member that's not, like there's something that I think breaks there. I feel like
Mm.
there's something that gets damaged there, and then now it's like, well, now the trust is kind of broken. Like
Yeah.
if it was just like, oh yeah, just come to me and talk to me, then I feel like that could work. But it's like, it, I think it's because I think I've just been in it too long to realize like your band, you're a unit. Like
Yeah.
we there's things that have been tied to my band that had to do with other members. There's bad things that are tied to the band that had to do with me. Like so it's just like we're a unit as much as I would be nice to say I'm the believer, which I do. I kind
Mm.
of now say that. I don't have a problem saying that. Like I believe this. I write the
Yeah.
lyrics, so this is
Yeah.
this is my. That's kind of how I put it. Is like I write the lyrics. I write through the lens of my life. Like that being like my faith is a big part of my life, and so I'm gonna pull from what I know lyrically, and uh, and so I don't know. I know this is probably just a big dancing around like the whole like if I believe what I think it should be, but I've always just been like the Christian label has always been a very serious. It's a serious thing for me, and it also is just like a big because it's not it's not fair when I feel like the things that come with it, like built in because it is built in. Like you have people who support you. If they know you're a Christian band, they give you that pass. Like they give your musicianship a pass if they know like this is what your message is. I do that with other bands. I do that with bands that aren't Christian. If I know what their message is and I think it's cool, like oh, I like that this band is like anti-establishment. They like, I like how they go hard on certain subjects, and so musically not my thing, but like I will put them ahead and listen to them because I like the message or whatever because I believe in what they say and what they stand for, and I just feel like when it comes to something like Christianity, like that is it's such a it holds so much weight, and so when bands don't carry that, they don't represent it well. It like it's a real bummer, and I've seen it on tour. I've experienced it. I've been on
Mm.
tours where I've seen it, and I'm just like I'm I feel very disconnected. I feel like I have more in common right now than these atheists on this tour than I do with you guys right now, with how you guys are being. So I've had that, and
Yeah.
it's been a bummer.
Man, that is a bummer, and that makes a lot more sense. I was kind of thinking about it after you sent that video. You said a lot of the same things, but um, I think, yeah, the point you made about what if somebody came up and talked to somebody in the band who isn't a believer, and it's like, well, hang on, I thought you guys were a Christian band because Mike mentioned Jesus from stage, and so
No.
I totally see, and I agree. I think you. I'm trying to think of how to say it because you probably see bands as a unit more than a lot of bands today. I think a
Mhm.
lot of them are, they form over the internet. Maybe they don't even meet in real life.
Yeah, true.
Members are just plug and play. but you guys, you've been together for many years, and so you almost see it the way I think I kind of always saw it, which is it's kind of a marriage in a way. Like you guys, it's not as serious and sanctimonious and things, but it's like it's you are committing to being with these guys and playing music, and your level of commitment will show through, and if you kind of let that go slack, that's not going to be a good thing for the band. So I think I see what you're saying, and that is a hard line to walk, of wanting to be clear with those things, and yeah, finding a way to define it accurately for people to understand.
Yeah, like
So
I
yeah.
when I have this talk too, it's like I would love to be known as a Christian band. Like I'd like that. I would like for people to, because I know there's people in the scene that need bands that say something, but also at the same time, like I like to think that lyrically I have some things that are helpful, but also I know that I don't, and I feel like if you're gonna be a Christian, there needs to be like more of like praise in your music, in your lyrics. There needs to be some kind of moments for like that's what I loved about Sleeping Giant, dude. I miss them so much. It's like I felt like I was in worship, like I was worshiping, and when I'd see them and they'd play some of their songs, and it just I you know I don't know, maybe Sleeping Giant ruined it for me, and like I feel like that's what it has to be. But
Have you heard of a band called Convictions?
yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, I have one of their orange T-shirt.
Oh,
Uh,
sweet. Okay.
yeah, it's like I think it's like hardcore worship or
Aggressive
violent worship,
worship.
or aggressive worship. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and that's I've been I didn't realize they were Christian at first either. When I found out about them years ago, because it wasn't an explicitly Christian song. But I guess I'm also thinking in different categories now, that Paul says everything we do should be done to the glory of God, even eating and drinking. Right? How
Right.
can a secular action like eating and drinking be done to the glory of God? Well, first of all, by listening to what he says about not being gluttonous, not overeating,
Mm-hmm.
and not praising your food. Like, I mean, that may seem silly, but like,
Mm-hmm.
we can make idols out of anything, and
Right.
there is a way to give glory to God in these actions that seem like they should be neutral, but really everything is an act of praising something.
Mm.
It's an act of praising ourselves, somebody else, God. Um, so anyway, I guess I bring them up because now they're definitely writing some very explicitly Christian songs. The lyrics, are whatever, straight from like Revelation, or something that Paul wrote.
Sick.
But yeah, I like the stuff that you write. I mean, you still have the perspective that you have of growing up in the hardcore scene, seeing probably a lot of bands who are antagonistic against Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
and still wanting to help people, and bridging those two gaps, and then pointing people beyond themselves as their champion. Like, I think you probably have more to contribute than you might think, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. I just my thing. Some of the stuff like it's like I said what I said, and it's in our songs, and so uh my prayer moving forward is just like like I said, people with ears to hear and whatnot. Is I hope that like that's why I make myself so available at our shows, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that somebody will come and we can have this conversation. And
Yeah.
it it's always you know it's always such a humbling experience when like I'm going just to talk to somebody who's like, oh, good set, awesome, and I think that's thank you, like it's nice to hear that. And then it can just anything can happen, and there's moments that they either open the door and I can like, oh cool, I can jump in on this, or they share something, or even if it's just a matter of like we have a good interaction. And because this is what I've experienced with my early years work, it was just a good interaction. In that moment, we became friends. And then the next time we came back, we had another good interaction, maybe talk more about life. And this is a friend of mine now. 2 years pass, see them again. And when they speak about something that I don't agree with, I can have a real conversation and they're receptive to it because we're friends. And I
Mm.
feel like there's things that, I feel like that's God is always working in these areas, which like obviously I want to see instant things. I want to see people being delivered right away. Like I'd love for that to happen, but that just hasn't been the case. And I feel like it's been a slow process where I've had really interesting conversations with friends that are Satanists and will listen to me because we're friends. And like, so we
Yeah.
can have this talk that it was built over years, literal years of us just being like, hey, we're good to see you again. Thanks for coming out.
Mm. Yeah.
You kill the crowd. It's kind of funny and sad to see at the same time, but it's like, but over the years, I get this trust and I'm able to have difficult conversations, which which I felt like has been. I think that's where like God's been able to use me and with this band that is,
Mm.
on paper at least, it's a secular band. We tour with secular bands a lot of times,
Yeah.
and I think that's where he's been able to um to use me, which is awesome because it was hard to feel like, man, I feel like our message, the mental health and depression, all that suicide prevention, I feel like that's important and I stand by that. Um, but like, there's also this other side of myself that I want to speak on. And it's just like, it just felt like on stage, it doesn't seem like the area it is. I feel like it has to be in person and like, because I think that's where I do really well too when I'm talking one on one with somebody and I'm able to first be there for them, listen to them, connect with them, and then if it happens in that moment, awesome. But if not, I feel like the Lord has like planted a seed, and I can come back to it later, which
Mm.
has been like I don't know. That's been kind of I guess the part that's kept me to want to do this because when I left not left no bragging rights, but when we stopped, like I didn't want to go back to music. I didn't want to go back to bragging rights like that. I didn't want to go back to that scene just because I just felt like, man, there's nothing glorifying there.
Mm.
I didn't feel like there was enough being done, and I kind of felt very selfish and very uh, very like scary to step back into. So I was happy in that time away, but you know, but over the time I was able to step back and realize, oh, there was like seeds planted there. There are conversations that have gone certain ways that I didn't even think about in the moment, and
Mm.
then since then, like a lot of cool and difficult conversations that I just allowed because I was able to, feel like be a Christian first and like loving on them as opposed to like judging them right away or having that separation. Because I think that's what I'm trying to get on this is like I feel like when you say something on stage and you do that, especially when someone's not willing to receive it, there's like a separation that happens, a wall that gets put up right away,
Mm.
and it's like when I see that, I always get bummed out because I believe that anyone who hears the word can get saved, and I know that happens. But I think maybe I just see the whole like I just feel the room change, and maybe that's the
Mm.
Holy Spirit just bombing everyone with love. Maybe that's what I'm not realizing, right? So I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
I just contradicted myself.
I take it back. I take it back. Another thing that really helped me kind of wrap my head around some of that stuff is the fact that God's word does not return void. I think that's from Isaiah, and that's something that this one pastor said. And what he was getting at is that even when you say something from stage and you think to yourself, "Ooh, maybe I laid it on a little too strong or something," because of how people are reacting,
Mm.
God's word is working, and it's in spite of how we perceive it, because it doesn't mean that all those people are going to accept Jesus and be in your church tomorrow, but
Right.
it's going to do whatever God is purposing it to do, right? Like he's got a purpose for it. It's never wasted. It's never something like if we could have done it, 25% better, I could have saved that guy, or I could have, made him not hate me or something like that. It's just as long as we are being honest about what the Bible says, about what God says, and yeah, talking to him, I think that's been the part that's comforted me the most. Yeah, I wanted to ask that last question too about, so at our church we have a tradition that sometimes we'll get together and have dinner, and it is a Thanksgiving feast. Like we'll just be eating food and hanging out, talking and having a good time. And then at the end, we will all get a glass of something, and everybody will have a prompt of like, hey, what's one thing God did for you this year? What's a way that He is having you interact differently with your spouse or something, or something maybe specific, maybe more general. And then at the end, when somebody gives their answer, we'll say to the King, we'll drink. Yeah, I'm curious if you have a to the King kind of idea of how you want the rest of this year to go, how you want to serve the Lord this year, and look back and be able to toast Him.
So I think for the thing I'm thankful for the past year, you know, the just my wife and that whole thing has just been it's been it's just been a blessing, because I feel like not just obviously meeting her and all that, but just her group of friends have kind of challenged me, I feel, and it's been it's been helpful, because they're very what's the word is practical, and like some of their not even just challenges, but just how they approach their walk and
Mm.
things to do. Like for me, I've always been big on like you know I kind of kick myself because like I want to be like my dad. My dad wakes up every day at like 5:30, and he's on his knees and he does that. That's how
Mm.
he starts his day, and he's done it for who knows. And so like I I wanted that, and I kind of was like reminded like, well, like what can you do? Like what? And so for me, I have an hour commute, and so I know it's not ideal as far as like my prayer, but like that's my time to pray, and like it's my
Mm.
time to like talk, and I'm just having my time. And anyway, so things like that, and that has been a big blessing to my life, is being able to do that, have this drive where I'm like, okay, this is just me time. Uh, it's kind of like the only quiet, the only only time I kind of really have, and it's like, okay, well, this is what I have. I'm gonna take advantage of this moment, even though it's not what I would like. It's not the that moment of complete like I don't have that yet, and I'm hoping to have that now with my next job, actually. So
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
so that's something from the past. How I hope to serve this year. This new job that I got is going to be I'm going to be with the family and going to their homes, and
Oh
so
wow.
yeah, so I'll be meeting with the client and child at their place. So I'm going to be meeting families, and
Mm.
so I don't know. I just hope that I'm able to be not just helpful in what they need specifically for their child, but maybe I can be encouraging, and that those doors are open for me to have conversations if somebody needs it, or at least, or maybe encouraging, I don't know, to the family.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm really hoping that can be an area where I can be used, because that's going to be yeah, I'm going to be meeting people like that, and
Yeah.
kind of, if I'm being honest, a little terrifying for myself. I'm an introvert, but
Mm.
I feel like I'm also kind of excited going into this, as far as like he wouldn't have made this such a crazy easy process if it wasn't I, I don't think it would have gone this way had he not put me in uh, this situation, because I feel like this is different from what I've done, as far as like I will be specifically working with like children with autism, as opposed to children that are like at risk and stuff, and
Mm.
pulling knives on me and stuff. But
Oh,
yeah, so
jeez.
I'm looking forward to this, and I just hope that he can just use me, and I can be what the family's needing, like I said, on a specific side, as far as for what the child needs, and then for what the family can need too. So
Yeah. Well, cool, man. I wanted to ask. I wanted to do a couple would you rather's here at the end,
okay,
so we can do. I'll lay it out. You can ask any questions you want about them, and then you make your choice, and then it's final, and then that's going to happen
no.
to you tomorrow. So, would you rather? This one makes my wife laugh so hard, and it's I don't know if anyone else is going to laugh like we do, but would you rather have Gary Busey's mouth or Steve Buscemi's eyes?
Dude. uh, I mean, so just for the sake of my wife and how my wife is with tea, I'm gonna say I'll have Steve Buscemi's eyes, his crazy eyes, dude. Like,
Look in different
dude,
directions and everything.
yeah,
Oh my
I've
gosh.
seen all things.
I see everything. Oh, he was
So,
the conspiracy theory guy in that movie. Oh
yeah.
man, that's funny. All right, all right. I respect it. I respect it. You got to do what the wife would appreciate. Oh
That's
man,
funny. I'm gonna ask her when she comes in. I'm gonna be like, "Would you rather have me have?"
have
Dude,
me.
that's funny.
Yeah, do it to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, and then um, this one I tried to kind of piece together based on one that my friend told me. So, would you rather be able to teleport anywhere on Earth, but you lose an eighth of an inch of your height every time you do it? Or would you rather be able to go invisible, but you heavily sweat mustard when you do it, and anytime you're hot, you just sweat mustard?
While I'm invisible.
Like the act of going invisible will automatically just generate some mustard all over your skin.
Mm. So right away, so my whenever if you have a superpower, mine's teleportation.
Mm.
That's my easy one. I always go there because, and it's like it's not for anything that will benefit the world at all. It's just because it's like, oh, I want sushi, so I'm gonna go to Japan. I'm gonna get sushi from Japan. I want
Yes.
pizza. I'm going to New York or Italy to get pizza.
Oh yeah.
So like it would not be beneficial. I could have that superpower now and nobody would know because there would be nothing would be changed or wouldn't be helpful. It'd be so selfish
You'd be
getting
saying
coffee.
arigato and stuff.
That's true. Yeah. All of a sudden I can like say these like phrases.
Oh.
Uh, but my height, dude, I already don't have height, man. That's
Okay, and the way that he framed it originally was you can teleport, but every time you do, you lose a precious memory. So I'm not
ooh.
sure which one's worse, but there you go. Another option if you would take it if you do that.
Oh, oh man. I think like the memory probably worse.
Yeah.
I couldn't lose more height, dude, and I would abuse transportation, the teleportation. I would abuse it.
I was gonna say
I would be like 2 feet tall.
I was gonna say you could at least do it like, you know, 4 times. You lose 1 inch, or no, that's a half inch. I specifically chose an eighth because I wanted it to be like, okay, I got to do it at least once, and then you have to do it again to get back. So you need two
Yeah.
every time you use it.
Oh, I'd have to do the invisible mustard. As gross as that is.
Yeah, nice. Okay, no, that's a solid choice. That would be it'd be inconvenient, but you know what? As I was thinking about it, I was like, we have technology. We can't change our height that much with technology, but there'd probably be some kind of like Iron Man suit that could contain the mustard,
Mm,
and I don't know, deal with it in some way,
yeah.
neutralize the acid. Not sure. There's probably life finds a way,
Yeah, but
as
it'd
Jeff
then be like
Goldblum
one of those
says.
things where, your friends would be like, you went invisible, didn't you? But no, and then it's like, it's on you. Like,
So
why do you smell like
you did
mustard?
sometime.
Yeah,
I know. I'd recognize that anywhere
yeah.
at Heinz. Oh man. Well, cool, man. Yeah, thank you for jumping on. I think we had a
Awesome.
great discussion.
Yeah, man. This is kind of a first for me as far as like being able to like talk openly this way about my faith and stuff. So,
Hmm.
so thank you because yeah, I don't really get those opportunities.
Yeah,
I've never been like, you know, embarrassed or ashamed to. It just never comes up. Or if it does, it's very like, um, asking about a lyric and then
yeah,
addressed, and then they don't want to go further with it, or like,
yeah.
so, uh,
No, I hear that. Yeah, I'm glad that we got to talk about that too, and hopefully we'll both be saying to the King at the end of this year.
yeah, man. I'll let you know about MBR stuff as it happens.
I'm so excited for that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be you. You make those pre-order bundles. I'm gonna be slam clicking that by Amazon one-click buy. You aren't even ready.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Cool, man.
Awesome. Dude, thank you, man.
All right. Yeah, of course.
Dan, I forgot to ask about my socials, so here they are. I have a podcast. It's called the Walking Blind Podcast. It's available anywhere you listen to podcasts. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, it's at Walking Blind Pod. I have a skate punk band called Easy Out, and if you'd like to follow that on Instagram, that is at Easy Out Punks. And then my band No Bragging Rights is also on Instagram, and you can follow us at No Bragging Rights. But I hope you're having a blessed day, and hopefully I will hear from you guys soon.
Oh, hey, I'm so sorry. Do you mind if I turn my camera off for just a quick second? My wife needs to grab.
Oh, go for it. No, go for
All
it.
right, here. Let me just.
Can't be doxing.
Is
Our
it
family
good?
members.
Are we good? Is it blank? Is it black?
I think so, and if not, then I'm just going to make a black square in Microsoft Paint, and I'm going to